want to defend our last hour. The last hour before you fall asleep at night, you want to make sure that you're doing things that help you to decompress and to relax.
So we are the next episode of Dr. D now. Today we have Dr. Greg Wells with us. Dr. Greg Wells is a renowned expert in the field of health and wellness, the CEO and founder of Wellness Performance, a global consultation firm on a mission to elevate how we live our lives at work and in life. He has worked with some of the highest performing individuals on the planet, including Olympic and world champions and elite organizations, including General Electric, BMO, KPMG, BMW, Audi, YPO, and Air Canada, and many, many more. He is also committed to inspiring children and young adults working with the school boards and independent schools around the world. So Dr. Greg Wells is a renowned health and high performance expert. He has dedicated his career to studying science of human limits and developing practical strategies to help individuals and organizations perform at their best, even under the most challenging circumstances. With over a year of 25 years of experience working with Olympic and world champions, as well as top performing organizations. Well, that's a lot, achievement, Dr. Greg. We just love you, and a very, very warm welcome to Dr. D's podcast today.
Dr. D, I'm so happy to be here, and I've missed you guys, and it's great to see you, even if it's over Zoom. And I'm honored and grateful to, speak to you and your community. So yeah, it's great to see you again.
So Dr. Greg, since we all know that you specialize in so many fields, where one of the field is definitely an athletic performance, about the, science of nutrition, the exercise, sleep, and stress management. And there are so many, different kind of science in this particular field. Everyone has their own opinion. Some say that, fasting, before working out. Some say that, having some potassium or, electrolytes before working out. And then, thereafter, some say that have magnesium immediately. And, there are also studies where they say that, okay, you need to have some kind of carbohydrate before you go for your running and things like that. So it's actually very confusing for a common person that what exactly they need to do. So could you just explain that, a regular athlete, or maybe a person who goes everyday running, or maybe, just everyday gym, and a strong person who has a regular athletic performance, what is the difference between their diet, and what can a one normal individual do?
You're right. We make it very complicated. And the reality is that it's not very complicated. I've worked with probably 200 Olympic athletes, and over and over and over again, what I see amongst the highest performing athletes is that they're just consistent. They do the basics very, very well. They're not trying to biohack. They're not trying to take shortcuts. They're not really taking that many supplements. They just simply show up to work out every single day. And that's the biggest thing that you can do, is just be really consistent. We also need to worry about how hard we're working out. Literally just show up, go for a walk, do some yoga, lift some weights, do housework, whatever it happens to be. Moving your body is going to make you healthier and feel so much better. When it comes to nutrition in and around physical activity, the number one most important thing is just make sure you're drinking a lot of water. The vast majority of us, up until about 90 minutes of exercise, don't need electrolytes. You don't need sports drinks. You just need to drink water. That's what your body is designed to use when we are exercising. So water is the most important thing. If you're exercising for longer than 90 minutes, or you're exercising outdoors in the heat where you're sweating a lot, then you can have a little bit of electrolytes in the drinks that you're sipping during your exercise, but not before or after. Just stay hydrated during your actual training session. Now, the one interesting thing is that when we look at athletes who train in the morning and at night, so 2 workouts per day, often they'll do very well. They'll hydrate well during that training session, but they won't drink much in between. And so they'll show up to work out dehydrated. So also throughout the course of the day, we're drinking water, we're drinking tea, anything that increases your hydration level. We're staying away from fruit juices unless you squeeze them yourself. We're staying away from soda and and diet sodas and all those sorts of things. It's really, really straightforward. It's not complicated. Do the basics right. And for the vast majority of people, a healthy diet plus lots of water in and around your workouts, you'll get almost all of the benefits that you need.
Okay, you have explained everything very well, that how a regular person should be taking care of the hydration, which is the most important. I mean, checking with your electrolytes. If you're working more than 90 hours, then, you need to increase more electrolytes in your, routine. I have one question. I'll take this advantage of asking you one of my personal question, because my son, who is, 17 now and has been working out recently. So he, stops me, as a parent, I'm like continuously eat this, eat that, but he's like, hey, Mom, I'm going for workout. I only need my protein. I only need, and he has this salt water before, he goes for his workout, and he has stopped eating his carbs and all. But as a mother, I worry him because he's 17, and I like, okay, what about your growth hormones? You need to, you need that for your bones to develop. So is it, and I'm sure a lot of listeners out there are mothers who are worried about their young adults. So what one needs to do? Is it a okay practice? Should I overreacting, or they need to be more careful about?
So the first thing is, your son is going to the gym. He's not going to the bar. He's not going and hanging out on the street corner. Like, he's going to the gym. So first of all, congratulations, your child is going to exercise. You've already won. Like, it's fantastic. Just make sure that he loves to go to the gym, because he's going to go lift weights. He's going to go talk to people who are into health and fitness. Obviously, we want to have conversations with him about, and girls go to the gym too, which is also incredible. Like, anyone who's going to the gym, we want to make sure that they're into healthy lifestyle, because that's what's going to enable them to get to what we want for them, which is mental and physical health. So you've already won. He's going to the gym. You've done a great job. You're a great mom. Don't worry about it. That's 99% of the battle. Now, when it comes to the protein powders that kids, and let's call it teenagers, who'd first get into really training hard in the gym, and when it says protein, 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 and that's fair enough, because you do need amino acids, which we get from proteins, to build your muscle tissue. So if you do a workout and you have lots of amino acids in your system, you will gain muscle mass, which is what a lot of people are looking for when they go to the gym. The key thing to get across to your son is that not only do you need to have protein, and this is for everybody, protein is basically for your muscles and your bones. Healthy fats are for your brain and your spinal cord, and carbohydrates are for energy. And so if you want to, and your son might be interested in more muscle, less percent body fat, in that case, you'd say, yes, keep with the proteins. That's amazing. Make sure that you're not only having the protein powder, but many different types of protein. You get protein from vegetables or from meat or from fish. But you're also having a little bit of carbohydrate after your workout, because then it's absorbed quickly, goes straight into your muscles, you heal, repair, and regenerate fast. And then also make sure that you're having healthy fats at breakfast and dinner, because healthy fats make your brain work better, your spinal cord and your nerves, because that's what we use to build myelin, which wraps around the branches of your neurons, just like bark on the branch of a tree, and protects them from damage. So if you want a better functioning brain, that's healthy fats. Better functioning muscles, that's healthy protein. More energy overall, that's carbohydrates. And so that balance is what we win with long term. But understand right now that your son's super into protein. He probably wants to decrease percent body fat. And if that's the case, you just put your carbs after your workout, not before. And that way it's absorbed straight into your muscles and used really, really efficiently. Okay, lovely. So, I'm sure it's quite insightful, the way you have divided that when one needs to have carbohydrate, what's the right time to have, your fats and all. Which brings me to the next question, Dr. Greg, because, I have been listening to your podcast and wherever you speak, and, what I learned that you're a strong supporter of, plant-based food and, mainly plant-based food. So do you think that, the people who have like strong athletic performance, do they get enough nutrition from the following a certain kind of plant-based food? And is there something that they need to be very, very cautious about if they are eating completely plants? Yeah, got it. I am plant-based, not plant entirely. We do have fish, we do have some meat, but in general, we eat a lot of plants. That's the foundation. So I believe in plant. There's two styles of eating that generally show around the world that there's a reduction in chronic disease and an extension of lifespan. And the first type is plant-based. The more plants that you eat, the more different colored plants and fruits and vegetables that you eat, the less chronic disease, the longer that you live. So plant-based is one style. The other style of eating is Mediterranean style. So that's lots of plants, but also with olive oil and some organic meat as well. So you can do it either way. And I know that traditional foods in India are fantastic also because they have so many spices. And when we have lots of spices in our foods, and then I realize there's many different regions of India with many different styles of cuisine. And I'm very fortunate to have been to India on many occasions, and I've sampled foods from all over the place. And I love Indian food so much. But the spices have antioxidants in them, polyphenols, flavonoids, which are so incredibly good for us. And so when I talk about healthy eating, I'm basically of the opinion that we should have as many plants as we can, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Make sure that we're eating, whether that's nuts, vegetables, fruits, seeds, they're all fantastic for us. Then in addition to that, if you want to have some meat, it's fine, not too much, but a little bit is okay, and as organic as you can afford. So make sure that they're eating grass-fed beef, for example, not grain-fed beef. That's what we have in Canada. So you have to be very careful about what you're having. And if you're going to have fish, make sure that it's wild. And that way you get a lot of omega-3 fatty acids as well. But in general, I believe that you can eat healthy from a number of different ways. What we're just simply looking to do, and this is a very simple idea, is that we want more nutrients and optimal number of calories. So health is equal to nutrients over calories. The more nutrients you get into your body, in general, the healthier you're going to be. So how do you get more nutrients in? That's the rainbow of plants, vegetables, and fruits from many different colors. And when we talk about optimizing calories, all that we're really doing there is reducing the amount of junk food that we eat. So highly processed foods that comes out of packages, sweets, which is, by the way, it's fine to have every once in a while. We're just not having them at every single meal, right? So we're just simply eating more of the rainbow and less of the junk food, the fast food, the fried foods. And in general, if you do that very simple thing, you're going to get to 80 to 90% of the benefits of a healthy eating lifestyle. And that's what I found athletes, high performance business people, healthy people overall. That's the approach that we are adopting. And so it's very straightforward. As many plants as you can, eat the rainbow, decrease the junk food, decrease the fast food, and you will win most of the battles. And that applies to both athletes and anyone who's interested in a healthy, high performance life.
I like it, eating the rainbow. It sounds very fancy and, makes sense also that eat a lot of colorful, vegetables and fruits. I mean, you can cover up all the major antioxidants with that. And, in
Exactly.
India, the majority of the population is, vegetarian, where we eat plant-based a lot. And, generally, which has been seen that, that's why a lot of Indians are deficient sometimes in vitamin B12, vitamin D, of course, it is everywhere, which, I don't know, it just, people are deficient in vitamin D a lot. So if somebody is completely, vegetarian, let's say, or vegan, how do they cover their vitamin B needs? Like, do they have to take the supplement, or is there any other way as well? But how can they do
It's
that?
totally okay. Yeah, it's interesting. If we're looking at making sure that we have the B complex vitamins, but especially B12, because B12 can be lower in people who are plant-based, that's really important to do because the B vitamins are used to help us combat and manage stress. So if you've experienced a lot of stress in your life, or you have a busy job, or you're very tired, or there's some challenge going on at home, then making sure that you have enough B vitamins in your body is really important because they help us to fight off stress. So during those stressful times, I actually recommend that taking a B complex, that's B2 through to B12 with like B6 and other B vitamins in it, is a really good strategy. The other thing that you can do is just simply look up vegetarian sources of B vitamins. And there's many different plants that are very high in B12. And there's actually some plant sources of vitamin B12, which you can access as well. I can't remember them off the top of my head. I do have a list of them. I'm happy to send them to you and we can flip those into the show notes. But just look those up. And then in terms of vitamin D, that is low, and it's very low where I live because we're in the north, there's not as much sun. But the key thing there is just making sure that we're exposed to sunlight, and not too much. You don't want to get a sunburn, but when we're exposed to sunlight and we're outdoors, your skin will naturally produce some vitamin D. if you want to supplement above and beyond that, that's absolutely fine. We certainly do in my family. And so that's definitely something to look at for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Greg, in my practice, a lot of people, when the vegetarians who are deficient in vitamin B12, we definitely recommend them, supplementing them, whenever they feel like. And a lot of time, I think nutritional yeast is also something which has kind of all the vitamins, so that does help with them. And again, speaking about vitamin D, I don't know what's there. I mean, you are there where the sunlight is, very, I mean, not too much, but in India, we have excessive sunlight, but still, people are deficient in vitamin D. I think, because of we are indoors most of the time, that's why the vitamin D absorption is less. And also, I feel, a lot of time people supplement themselves with vitamin D, but then, they're not able to keep it for a longer duration, longer period.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they go for their, vitamin D test, I mean, it always shows the result very, very, very low. Probably they're not able to metabolize the supplement, or, they are lacking in vitamin K2. It's a mystery in themselves, and I don't understand why we do not absorb such good vitamin D sunlight here in India.
Yeah.
So, just speaking about, sunlight, of course, the sleeping and waking up pattern, again, which you speak highly about, particularly with the sleep thing, which is the most important thing. And by the way, let me tell to our viewers here, our listeners here, that, I heard you for the first time in Toronto, where you spoke about, the sleep pattern and how, one requires how many hours of sleep, and in detail. And I think that was a time I started working on my sleep routine. I've learned a lot from you. A lot of things I apply, but a lot of things I'm not able to do till now, although I'm working on it. But
that's okay. We're always a work in progress, all of us. That's all good. No problem.
So but that made a huge change in my personal life. So I would like you to share some of the more information to our listeners here. And how one needs to work on his sleep, and why is sleep the most important thing for everything, for your diet, nutrition, for your mental health, everything.
Got it. Well, the foundation of health and wellness is nutrition, and we've talked about that already. The next most important thing, and arguably even more important in some cases, is making sure that we get a good night's sleep. And quite often, so many people are tired and we're not sleeping very well. And so the amount of sleep that I'm hoping most people can get is around 7 to 8 hours. There's a small percentage of the population, around 3%, that has a gene that enables them to sleep for about 3 to 4 hours and be completely recovered. I'm certainly not one of those people. I'm definitely in that 7 to 8 hour window, maybe even more in some cases. But in general, that's what we're looking for. And the reason why is because when we sleep, in our brain, there's 100 billion neurons. And at night, when we sleep, those 100 billion neurons shrink by about 60%, and all the space opens up inside the brain, and a clear fluid called cerebral spinal fluid washes through the brain every single night while we sleep. That's how your brain heals, repairs, recovers, and regenerates. The other really cool thing is that we control and release leptin and ghrelin, which are two hormones that control your appetite and how full you feel. So not only does the brain wash itself out, if you get a good night's sleep, you're better able to make good decisions around the foods that you eat the next day. Also, we release growth hormone when we sleep, and growth hormone heals, repairs, and regenerates all of your muscles and your bones. And so sleep is very much the foundation for well-being. And if we can prioritize sleep in our lives, that's what gives us the chance to eat better, move a little bit more, and certainly have the best possible mental health. So it is absolutely the foundation of what we want to be trying to do as high performers who are interested in health and well-being.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about this also, that because there's so much of information everywhere, like and melatonin is been available everywhere. People have started having it without any physiologist or any doctor's recommendation. It just available, right? So does having a melatonin supplement, is it okay on a regular basis if somebody is extreme disturbed for a month or 2 months? Is it okay to have a melatonin supplement, or one needs to have it occasionally when you're traveling or actually disturbed?
So melatonin is a hormone. It's released by the pineal gland deep inside the brain. It is released when the brain detects that it's dark outside. The challenge right now is that we all have our devices around us, and so we're constantly shining light into our eyes through our phones or tablets or televisions, which takes away that stimulus for us to fall asleep and for the brain to release melatonin. So unfortunately, that means that some people have to take melatonin as a pill instead of producing it naturally inside the brain. And the research is pretty clear that melatonin helps us to reset our sleep cycles after a period of disrupted sleep, and especially if you're crossing time zones. So if you're traveling east to west around the world and you're jet lagged, then by all means, have some melatonin for a couple of nights to reset your sleep cycle, and then you're fine. Also, if you've had a period of disrupted sleep, let's say there's a week at work where you're really, really stressed and you're working really hard, long hours, and as a result, you're not sleeping very well, and you want to get back into your regular sleep cycle, you can use melatonin to reset your sleep cycle. The problem is that if you take melatonin regularly, you lose the ability to produce it yourself. That's why we say we only use it for a very short period of time, not a very long period of time. And that way you can use it to reset, but then build your sleep habits back so that you can fall asleep naturally and stay asleep by yourself. So a few of the ways that you can build your ability to produce melatonin on your own without taking a melatonin pill is to go to bed at the same time every night, so that your brain knows when to release melatonin so you can fall asleep easily. The second thing to do is to make sure that your bedroom is pitch black. Get the blackout blinds and make sure that your room is as dark as possible to make sure that there is no light going into your eyes. Even if your eyelid is closed, light still goes through and will wake you up. Your bedroom can be a little bit cool. So about 19 to 20 degrees Celsius seems to be the best temperature for sleep. You and your partner might need different thicknesses of blankets in order to be comfortable, but that's the zone that appears to be the best. And if you're still having trouble sleeping, intense physical exercise during the course of the day really helps us to produce more melatonin and to fall asleep and to stay asleep. So there's a few ideas that you can use to help you to sleep better without having to take melatonin supplements.
Yeah, that was quite a good info. Then how about working out or doing any exercise right before sleep? I mean, does that help?
That helps us to reduce stress. So when we're exercising, we actually break down stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. So if you've had a difficult day, if you've had a stressful day, if you're working hard or some challenge happened during the day and you're really stressed, the evening workout is fantastic because first of all, it gets you into shape. It improves your heart and your lungs, your blood, your muscles, your brain, your bones, everything. And it breaks down all of those stress hormones to get rid of them. The problem is that if you do a workout late in the evening, your body temperature is elevated and your heart rate is elevated, which makes it very difficult for you to fall asleep. So you have to do two things. If you do the evening workout, you have to finish with a cool to cold shower until you stop sweating. And once you've stopped sweating and your body temperature is back down to normal again, then you can fall asleep. Second thing you can do is that when you're exercising, your brain becomes very active. And you need to calm your mind down so it's not racing while you're lying in bed. And so a little bit of meditation right before you fall asleep to settle your mind is going to help too. So cool to cold shower, a little bit of meditation after your workout at night, and you should be fine to fall asleep.
Okay, lovely. So cold to cold shower, Dr. Gray, what do you mean by that? Like having chill shower, cold shower?
Yeah, so basically just after your workout in the evening, get in the shower, do the soap thing, wash your hair, rinse off. And then at the end, just turn the temperature down until it's cool and just move the water over your body until you notice that your skin is back to a regular temperature and you're not feeling like you're hot anymore. You can also let the water just go off your forehead, the third eye, and also between your shoulder blades, that metabolically active tissue that's right between your shoulder blades. That will help to decrease your body temperature as well. You don't need to be cold. It doesn't need to be a shock. We're just turning it down so that it's cool, so that your body decreases its temperature after its workout and you cool down before you fall asleep.
So the idea is to cool down the temperature of the body. There's no need to get into a cryo or, give a cold shock to yourself, right?
No, that's the morning. We do that in the morning to
that's
wake
the
up.
morning.
You don't do that
at night. Lovely.
Yeah.
Thanks for clearing this out. Speaking Talking about the waking and sleeping, routine, I also know that you have also, already have shared it with this listeners of yours that, what's your pattern is, like, how do you have a routine? And it'll be amazing if you can share some of the insights of your routine so that we can take some tips and maybe, we can do something.
Sure. I mean, everyone's different, but what I'm trying to do right now looks something like this. And I've got it on my desktop. So if anyone's watching on video and I'm looking down, it's because I'm looking at my notes. So right now, Judith and I like to get up pretty early, 5 to 5:30 in the morning-ish. Wake up. The first thing we do is drink water. So I will typically have a glass or two of water, squeeze lime juice or lemon juice into it to get hydrated again. I'll then from 6 to 7 do some sort of exercise. So whether that's lifting weights on Monday and Wednesday, and then Tuesday, Thursday, I swim, and on the weekends, I do other stuff. Then at 7 a.m., we do breakfast I do coffee because I like coffee. It's my one, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, but I like coffee. So I'll have a coffee first thing in the morning, and then I'll go to work. That will typically take until about 1 o'clock. Then we'll do protein, fats, carbohydrates for lunch. At around 1, some sort of a sauna or steam or hot shower, and then very cold. So I find that resets me for the afternoon. One more 2 to 3 hour block in the afternoon, a little bit of cardio in the evening, and then what I call a parasympathetic sundown, which is at night. That's breath work, which is just simple basic meditation. Get a shower, get into bed, and read fiction. So that's kind of the routine. As you can see, it's not very complicated. I do like to drink water, specifically around 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon, just to stay hydrated. In the middle of the morning, I'll have some nuts because it helps to keep me full. And in the middle of the afternoon, I'll have some berries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, something like that as well, because that gives me a bit of energy for the afternoon. And I try to keep a few hours open at night to make sure I'm spending time with my kids and Judith, my wife. So it's all in there, but that's the general pattern that I've been trying to follow for the last little while.
That's lovely. So your pattern remains the same, or do you keep on changing, according to the body's need?
Yeah, I definitely change things up every 2 to 3 months. I'll do a redo of the routine depending on what's going on. I also travel a fair bit. So this is my routine when I'm at home in Toronto. When I'm on the road, and I fly a lot because I do public speaking, it is harder to stay on my routine. So when I'm on the road, I just do my best. And I might do my workout walking around an airport, for example, rather than, first thing waking up and doing weights with Judith. So I do my best. It's, I figure I'm probably about 80% of the way compliant with this, but I give myself some grace. Like some days my kids are sick and I can't do this. It goes out the window and I'm just in survival mode for that day. Or I've got a big, huge presentation or an incredible podcast in India, in which case I will adjust my schedule accordingly. So it's flexible, but in general, it's lots of water, make sure I get a workout in, eat healthy food, deep focused work in blocks where I can not get distracted, family time at night, some hot or cold during the day if I need to spark my brain. And that's basically it. And I mix and match those pieces, but it's very straightforward and very consistent.
Lovely. You also mentioned particularly about, reading before you sleep, and you mentioned fiction books. Like, is there a, reason you mentioned fiction in book?
It is because we want to defend our last hour. The last hour before you fall asleep at night, you want to make sure that you're doing things that help you to decompress and to relax. And so if I'm reading the news, if I'm reading social media, if I'm reading a technical report or a textbook, it just makes my brain too active and I can't fall asleep. And so when I read stories, that is basically the same brain waves as you create when you are in sleep and when you're dreaming. They're theta brain waves. And so I like to get myself out of beta brainwave mode, hustle, focus, execute, getting stuff done, down into alpha, which is just sort of relaxed but aware, into theta, which is that creativity and ideation, which is what I feel when I read fiction. And so that just helps me to prepare my brain to calm down and to get in a state where I can fall asleep and I can stay asleep.
Okay, lovely. So it's like listening to a story and just going in a dreamland, reading the fiction.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, without taking much time, I would, like to ask a last question because I know you have a lack of time. I mean, we just spoke about your routine and your habit. While you're working with the, popular, famous athletes out there, what kind of mindset do they have, and what kind of routine or habit which they follow? Would you like to share some of the insights from that?
Sure. In terms of mindset, the number one thing that I notice from athletes and business leaders, the higher that they go in the world, in the rankings, and it could be musicians, business leaders, athletes, artists, it's the same pattern everywhere. The higher you go in the world rankings, I find the more curious you become. And so if I'm speaking to someone that's, say, ranked 100th in the world, they're not asking that many questions. They're doing what they do. Whereas when I get to people that are top 10 in the world, they're constantly asking questions. They're really curious. They want to know more. They want to learn. They want to experiment. They want to grow. So that's probably the number one mindset that I've noticed amongst high performers, is this curiosity, this desire to learn, this openness to other ideas, this non-judgment. Of course, they practice, they've got their beliefs, but they're interested in learning, how do I get better, and finding people that can help them to elevate their game and their performance and their training. And then they're just very consistent. They do the basics right. You'd think that the top 5 people in the world are doing something magical or something different or something unique or something secret. They're not. They're just doing the basics extraordinarily well, very, very consistently. Not sure if you've heard of LeBron James, but he's a basketball player. It's a popular sport in North America. And LeBron is the best. I think Michael Jordan was better, but right now, currently, LeBron is the best player in the world. And he had a game yesterday in the playoffs, and he arrived 5 hours early, probably about 3 hours before any other athlete made it there. And he warmed up, he did his routines, he did his strength training, he did his practice. And then by the time everybody else was there, he was already pretty much finished, and he then did his precise technical work. So he just showed up before everyone else, and he does the basics really well, very, very consistently all the time. And that is the magic. If you're curious and consistent, that is what I would say that one of the most important things I've noticed from the high performers I'm very fortunate to work with.
That's amazing. The consistency and curiosity is what will take you to, because we keep on listening to these words, continuously, but yeah, actually following it, what you're passionate about and being curious, so that, being a learner lifelong will take you a longer way. So thank you so much, Dr. Greg. I would, ask you to just give us some, most important words before we close the show for, all of our listeners today. Just a tip which they can be following for the rest of their life.
Sure. I think the biggest thing is curiosity is really important. Consistency is important. Do the basics right. Spend a lot of time with people that you love. Get some exercise every day, get out in the sun, eat healthy food. And I'm honored to connect with anybody. If you want to reach out to me, my website is drgregwells.com. I post information on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn and Twitter. Wherever you want to connect with me is fantastic. I've had some incredible experiences in India, and I'm deeply grateful to all my friends from India that I've met through the Titan Summit. And so I'm just happy and grateful to be back and to speak to you, and hopefully we can see you live and in person soon.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Greg. Thank you. It was lovely speaking to you.